starting my broadcast just to see if I can link to it through this.
What are you doing?
What? Why is it redstone? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I built it while you guys were talking. Are you gonna sit? What are you doing?
Alright, let me start this up real quick. Oh.
Yeah, that's not doing it.
What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to create this watch party off of on my Facebook link. I thought I had to maybe like start the broadcast in order to do that, but I guess not.
Broadcast starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Starting broadcast.
Broadcast starting in 85, 84, 83.
Uh-huh.
I like to tease mine, you know what I mean?
Oh, no, not a problem. You tease whatever you want to tease at that point.
I hear me. What's
Yep.
going on?
No, I was just logging on to the chat from my phone. Let's share this. Share it.
When are we going to get those other two guys on?
What other two?
Oh, that empty chair over there.
Oh, no. They don't exist.
Well, alright then. Want to just take their names off?
No. We gotta keep them.
Alright then. Alright, we live.
Oh yes, we're most definitely live, and I'm just finishing up this link off of Facebook.
There we go. I have to Twitch open.
Perfect.
So I can watch that.
All right.
It's not liking it apparently, but whatevs.
Bitrate on my end seems fine.
Wait a minute, this isn't right.
I don't care. I'm not actually watching it on that end.
Let's try this again. Newsfeed. That's what we want.
Who the hell's...
Number 9.
All right. This is right. All right, here we go. All right. Well, so we are now live on all fronts. We're all good. Everyone's up and broadcasting, boys and girls.
Everybody's broadcasting.
Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Crafting a Chat with our good friends here, Adam, Genesis, and Giuseppe. We're here on the first presidential debate night between two really old rich white guys that are totally irrelevant, but we're here to distract you from that nonsense, to talk about something a little bit more fulfilling, a little bit more entertaining, as we craft a chat with you tonight, with all of our millions and millions of followers, loyal subscribers, and fans. So Adam and Genesis, how are you all doing tonight on this fine Tuesday evening?
I'm doing all right. We got our viewer from last week, Mr. Cork, the Capybara, again. He says, good to see you guys again this week.
Oh, hey!
You get to meet Giuseppe this week, Cork, because he was not present last week. This is the guy who normally handles the show and takes us through these this entire sea of discussions that we have.
Discourse, yes.
Yeah.
Other big words?
Other big words. But yeah, otherwise, I'm doing good. How about you, Adam?
I'm good. It's good to have you back, Cork. I question your life choices since you came back, but it's good to have you back.
It's been a pretty good week, I guess. I don't know. Today, right now, my back is killing me. Like my back,
Mm,
I'm in a lot of pain. And I think I told you boys that I just bought a computer chair for work. I've been using a kitchen chair for the last I don't know, 6 months,
Like one
however
of those
many.
generic like cafeteria chairs you're talking about, or are you talking about
Like
like?
a metal kitchen chair. I bought it off Amazon for my dining room. Like
I
it's part
see.
of a dining room table set. It does not move, does not have wheels. It is literally a metal chair that clearly does not hold my weight, and it's clearly bending. Don't
I
tell
see.
anybody else that. But got a computer chair, should be here tomorrow. I'm hoping it comes on my lunch so I can assemble it and sit right on it. So
I
other than that,
definitely,
I'm good.
Congratulations.
I
Yeah,
definitely
thank you.
recommend getting yourself, applying an ice pack, perhaps. A little ibuprofen.
No, no, no. It
No,
keeps me awake, keeps me alive,
okay. Yeah.
and maybe I've done all those things already.
Well,
Who
this
knows?
isn't well. This isn't the week for the S and M discussion, but whatever floats your boat. It's all good.
That's on
Um,
Saturdays.
Saturday.
yes, we'll be crafting a different kind of a chat. Hey now. So, gentlemen. Yes, unfortunately, I did have to bail out last week for opportunities, we'll say. But I am back, and I'd like to discuss really quickly what we have been playing this week. Adam, what have you been playing this week?
Honestly, not too much. Since my back hurts, haven't done a lot of Beat Saber. Still
Mm,
lost like point 0.2 of a pound, so I'm now down 3.2 pounds
That
since
is
I
okay.
still
started this.
progress, my friend. That is still
It's
progress.
it's still progress, and I'm very excited about it. Um, I played. I bought Jeopardy for $4.99 on the U.S. PlayStation Store.
Mm.
Um, just because I was like, I like trivia games. Um, and I was like, why not? Played a little bit of that with a Giuseppe. Um, with on SharePlay, it worked mostly. I'm
Yeah,
glad
it
I
was.
wasn't Giuseppe because he did seem to have a little bit of a disadvantage with the latency.
No,
But
it was a
it was still a close
distinct.
game.
It was a distinct disadvantage, but that's
You still
fine.
beat me sometimes, and it was still a pretty close game. I'm pretty sure you won the first one
Well, still,
because I was a hero and I bet everything, even when I
yes.
knew I wouldn't know. Um, got almost all the trophies in that. I just have to get the 7 consecutive days doing a daily challenge. I'm up to 5 now, so 2 more, and then that'll be done. And then I got to play 10 online games, but I'm nobody I know owns it, and I'm not reaching out to the internet for help. So yeah, haven't really played too much. Did I play anything else? I don't think I did.
I don't think you did.
Yeah, I don't think I did. I
Fair
mostly
enough.
watched other people play stuff. So, what about you, Genesis? What are you playing? What's
Just
your
been playing
fingers doing?
just Ghost of Tsushima, actually.
Mm.
I have not played Among Us in a little bit. Been asking my couple of Discord chats that I've been to see if they want to play. I've been watching more Among Us than I've been playing. I've been watching a bit of YouTube, keeping up with just the normal people who I watch. Other than that, I really haven't been playing much. I've made very good progress in Ghost. I think I'm getting near the end. I'm
Yeah,
clearing the
you're in
third
Act 3
act.
now.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
clearing the third act, and I'm up there, just filling in the entire map up there. So I should be finishing that up quite soon. I know Crash Bandicoot comes out this week.
Yeah, this Friday, I
I
think.
originally wanted to get that, and I am still thinking about it, but we'll see where it goes. I'm still not part of the PS5 pre-order secured squad, so unfortunately, that is not a squad I'm part of yet. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. Other than that, no, that's it.
Well, it's a lonely squad, I gotta be honest.
Last time I recall you saying it was beautiful on that
Oh,
side.
don't get me wrong. I prefer to be alone. It's beautiful. Like, I'm
the
having a
gra-
great time.
the
You,
grass
I
is
get
clearly greener on the other
the
side.
the glass. The grass is green. The
The
glass is
glasses are
clean.
clean.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Are you still liking
Apparently,
Ghost, by the way? Like, are you still digging it? Or are you?
Oh yeah,
Oh, okay.
this is becoming one of my most. It should have been my highly anticipated game of this year. I am liking this a lot more than I thought I even would. I think
Yeah.
I just was a little afraid to like it so much because of the disappointment that I got from Assassin's Creed, but that is very much being thrown into the ocean, and I am now just enjoying Ghost because that game is dead to me now. You know.
It's definitely a Gotti contender for me. So.
Oh, absolutely, I would agree with that. I would 100%
Real
agree
good.
with that.
Giuseppe, one day.
Yeah, one day.
Oh, right. And for me, I have unfortunately hit the wall in Dishonored 2. I've gotten to the point where the game has become boring. It's dull. It's kind of pointless. I think I'm in Act 4 or something like that. The story just has not hooked into me, so I just put that away and I started up Bloodborne again because jumping into other people's Chalice dungeons and helping them out with bosses and whatnot is still super great fun. I enjoy doing it. It's a cool challenge. Just wish everybody would. If you go out there, if you're still playing Bloodborne and you're still cranking through Chalice dungeons, folks, let me just put a quick recommendation out there. If you have a cooperator jump in to help you out, don't take risks in the boss fight. Hold back. Let your cooperators go down first if you have to, because again, we're there for you. So don't just go running into Amygdala and then go head first right into her fists or her foot because that's not a wise strat to follow. So yeah, don't do that anymore. I've run into a whole series of beckoners who've pulled me into their Chalice dungeon and they die basically within milliseconds of entering the boss arena, and I'm like, well, guess I gotta find someone else to join. So yeah, please expend your cooperators first, whether they're the AI ones or actual real players. But don't just jump headlong into the boss fight first. Hold back. Take your pot shots as you can. Otherwise, it's just a giant waste of time for people jumping in to try and help you out. So, yeah, helpful tip. There you are.
Giuseppe's helpful tip of the week.
There it is. Helpful tip of the week. So this next segment that we're going to just jump into, and I'm not entirely sure if Adam and Genesis are exactly in the know in regards to what is going to be involved here. I tried explaining it last week, but I got semi-understandable reaction to it. We're going to be calling this segment The Deep Absurdity. Also, in honor of tonight's presidential debates, we might as well follow up with our own absurdity. But hopefully this is, in fact, going to be more entertaining. And the absurdity is going to be basically a whole series of statements, hot takes, comments, declarations, if you'd like, from all of us that are not. And this is the official disclaimer at this point, folks. These are not necessarily the expressed opinions of Adam Genesis or Giuseppe Jones in any realistic way. They're simply meant to be spoofs, sarcasm,
Discussion points.
Well, they're discussion points, but they're not meant to reflect our actual and honest opinions regarding anything. They're just simply, we're going to make these absurd comments in honor of the internet and tweeting and social media, which seems to be dominated by a whole lot of ridiculous off-the-cuff comments that are at best half-baked, more than likely half-thought, truly undeveloped, and more often than not, plain false. And we'll see if we can apply the same kind of strategy here in a vain effort to boost the visibility and the popularity of crafting a chat, just for this small little short segment. So, as an example, I have a couple. I'll start off with one, and we'll see what you guys follow up with, and whether or not this each individual statement spawns its own discussion or not is neither here nor there. It doesn't have to, but if it does, we can go ahead and have that, and we can have a chuckle or two in between, if any of these statements warrant it or not. And I'll just go ahead and start. This is my number one deep absurdity. Bobby Kotick is a fine human being, the very model of business ethics, and should be considered for canonization by the Catholic Church.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He fits in perfectly with the Catholic Church, I would think.
This man's face doesn't. It doesn't make me feel good inside. This man feels like.
Did you
he's a
have to
fake-
look him up?
Yeah, because I didn't remember who he. I didn't know who he was.
He's the guy in
there's-
Moneyball.
Wait, Kotick? Bobby Kotick?
Yeah, he's in Moneyball, the movie Moneyball.
Is he
That's
not
what he's
the?
known for.
Is he not the Activision CEO?
Oh, no, he is. He's also that. That's a side job he's got. He's mostly known for being the guy in Moneyball.
I see. You see, I didn't know that part of it. Yeah, I don't like his face. It looks like an AI made his face, and it just took the most terrible parts of a human being and put it all together.
Wow. Okay. Bobby Kotick, if you're watching, go fuck yourself. You know, I always thought it was Kotick, but whatever.
I mean, when you look at the name, it looks like it's pronounced Kotick, right?
Yeah,
Kotick?
I've only ever heard it pronounced Kotick, but also that might only be in my head, so I don't know. But I don't really know what he does, like for Activision. Like I don't know what he spearheaded
Well,
to
apparently,
know him as a horrible person.
Oh no, all he does is
He looks
take
like
in a whole lot of cash for himself when shareholders bring up, hey, why are you laying off people when you're recording record profits in the quarterly, in the annual, and as the company rakes in profits, you take more for yourself and you lay other people off. Why should we accept that? He's also regarded as one of the most overpaid CEOs in the country,
Yes, I see.
if not the world.
Good for him.
Yeah, I'm sure he's enjoying
Now
life.
I'm going to throw
sure
this
he
out
is.
there. I'm going to throw this out there.
Throw
If the
it.
shareholders are mad at him, they can get him to go.
That's
And if
correct.
he's getting more money for himself, like
There
if
was
I
some
were him,
talk
more
about
power
him
to
getting
him.
fired back in like 2019. Some Game Workers Unite wanted Activision to fire him,
Well, yeah,
and okay,
they wanted
yeah,
the
keep going.
CEO gone. But like clearly the company's doing well enough that he keeps taking money from it. So good for him.
And they've had a couple of blunders over the last year and a half, right? Like a Blizzard and Activision themselves with the
No, they've never made a mistake.
Okay, so this is perfect segue into. Okay, I see.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, they respect China and Hong Kong at the same time in different ways. You
They
understand
do.
what I'm saying?
Separate but equal.
So
Do you get the gist of where I was going with the deep absurdity? Anyone else would like to chime
yeah.
in?
Oh, you bet your bottom dollar I would.
Let's hear it.
I have a list
Good. Let's
similar
hear
to
it.
yours, but I have a little asterisk I need to add to this.
Good.
Some of these are my actual opinions. I will not say which ones are, though.
Can we guess which ones are?
You can if you want. Will
Okay.
I tell you the answer? The answer is probably yes. The first one, BioShock Infinite, is the best BioShock game.
No, that's not.
That's my actual opinion.
How is that your actual opinion?
Because I said game, I didn't say story. The gameplay is way better than the first BioShock.
I gotta tell you,
You're saying but you're not.
They're pretty
There's no
much the
words.
same.
BioShock 2 sucks.
Look, BioShock 2 was short. It was it put you in the role of a big daddy, but it didn't give you the control that you wanted. But BioShock 1 was very like the shooting mechanics were not as polished, and
I wouldn't say that they were ever polished. Those mechanics were never really pristine.
well, when I'm comparing it to like 2's shooting mechanics, I think were a little better. But then 3 was the same as was the same as 2 and 1. I didn't notice a big difference other than maybe like the mobility factor of it, like being able to like go, these distances and be able to shoot while you're like grinding or hanging or whatever you were doing with that thing in your hand. I don't remember what it was.
Like a hook cloth.
The hook claw, yeah, they called it the hook
I mean,
claw, right?
it expanded mobility, but it didn't. I don't remember it doing it much, much other justice, other than like by the end you end up back somehow at Rapture, or you realize that something. I don't remember 100% of the end either,
spoilers.
but, well, that's
That's an old game.
that's
So,
yeah.
Genesis, how about a deep absurdity from you?
Oh God, I don't know.
You don't know.
If only you had time to think about this.
I had time. It's not that I
This
didn't
is
have time.
similar to Giuseppe not watching the PlayStation 5 conference on the PlayStation 5
No.
reaction show.
I had
Come on,
time to think about
prepare.
this. I'm not saying that I didn't. My thing is that I don't like. I mean, I could basically say like Metal Gear Solid 5 was the best Metal Gear Solid among all of them. That would be like what we're trying to do here,
Yeah,
correct?
gameplay wise, I would say sure.
Like in general.
Gameplay?
I would say voice acting too.
No.
I did like the voice acting. I did like
No,
Definitely
no,
not.
same way as Bobby Kotick is a great human. It's the voice acting is great.
Right.
Oh, you see, go ahead. I'll.
Okay, so let me rattle up. Adam, how many total do you have? I'm just curious.
12.
You have 12. All right, let
Yes.
me rattle off the next 3 in a row, and see if maybe Genesis can kind of like get the hang of what we're trying to do
go
here.
ahead.
Okay, the 2018 film Roma should be adapted into a video game. The Hunger Games is a valuable lesson in teaching the importance of the top 1%'s control of the planet's wealth so as to properly lead humanity into prosperity. Breaking Bad is a trash series featuring trash performances about stupid criminals glorifying meth culture.
That okay.
Again,
I won't even sarcastically respond to that.
Again, I point everyone to the disclaimer at the beginning of the video.
I won't even
this
sarcastically
movie-
respond to that one.
Is
Get out
this
of here.
Roma movie about like a bunch of just kids abandoned and dying somewhere? Is that what this is?
No.
I'm
you're
looking
not-
at the poster and I just see a black and white poster of a bunch of naked children hugging each
Ugh.
other. Just, they're on a beach somewhere and they look like they're all about to die.
I've honestly never seen the film because it looked boring.
That's kind of like the reason.
Have you seen
why.
the film?
So if this was adapted into the game, I'm just going to take this for what I'm hearing now. So at this point, I'm not even going to participate. I'm just going to participate in terms of me leaving comments for all this because I'm slowly looking this up, and now you're hearing my initial reaction as to what most of these things are. Because again, I didn't know Bobby Kotick, I didn't know this, and there's things I'm going through. I'm like, okay, what is this? If this was made into a game. This would be what like I don't know, more boring than oh god,
Death Stranding?
yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah. I guess that could be one that I could say here. Yeah, this would be more boring than Death Stranding.
Okay. Adam, go ahead. Launch a few in sequence.
Oh, okay. Nintendo games would be better if they were on different consoles. Something is automatically better if more money is behind it. Example, Disney remakes. And we should get new consoles every 5 years instead of the typical 7 to 10.
I like that first one. I like that one. That's good.
Some of these, again, are my actual opinions.
I don't think
still
the
funny.
opinion of the consoles is yours, but that's not something you support. I know that for a fact. You don't
Is
support
it?
every 5 years. No, you don't support that every 5 years. You'd rather
Is it
have it every
though?
10 years.
Is it, though?
Yeah, don't try and confuse me here. You do not support 5 years of a game console launch.
Now-
You would rather
now-
have it for like 10 years.
Let me ask you a question. Who
Uh-huh.
bought a PlayStation 5?
You did.
And how long has it been since the PlayStation 4 came out?
7 years.
So not 10. Closer to 5. Interesting.
Oh,
Now,
no,
do you
I
wanna
know, but
rethink
it's
what you're
because it's...
saying?
No, I'm not going to rethink what I'm saying. No, because it literally is coming out 7 years after. If it came later, then you would buy it later regardless. But if it came sooner, you'd be like, well, that's too soon. I still have things I want to play on this.
Okay.
Interesting. But
You weren't ready for a PlayStation 5 2 years ago. You were ready maybe a year
I-
ago and now.
I gotta be honest though, I was also unemployed 2 years ago. I was definitely not ready. Don't get me wrong, I had a credit card, so I would have bought one. But I was definitely
Listen,
not
our
ready.
fanboyism would make us buy one regardless. But in actuality, I think, like, I wasn't ready for a PlayStation 5 2 years ago. I was still waiting for Kingdom Hearts 3 to come out at that point in time. So I needed it to come out on the current gen because I'm not going to buy another, I'm not going to be like, oh, I got to buy another console because now this one's going to come out and that. I mean, that happened to Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts in PS3's era because they were supposedly supposed to come out for that. But,
Well,
yeah, no, that's not your actual opinion. The other ones,
I'll give you a hint. Out of those 3, only one is true.
What was the first one you said?
Nintendo games would be better if they were on different consoles.
And not the second one. No, I think it's the first one.
Giuseppe,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
Well, I thought that for the one about Nintendo games like linking into the Disney remakes, that was the same one, right? Those were
No,
together.
the something is automatically better if more money's behind it. Example, Disney remake. That's a
Right.
That's a separate one.
Separate one. Yeah, that's not.
Oh, okay. I kind of took it together, but yeah, I would say the first one is true.
The first one is true. You two are correct.
Awesome. So
It's
let me
not even to do with Nintendo consoles that are terrible. I just like the ecosystem better on like PlayStation. I want trophies and stuff. So it's
I
not
think
really like the craziest thing. And then the money one is half true because if you put more money behind something, eventually, I mean, it should be good theoretically.
Unless you're just burning the money in a furnace. I mean, that's
Well,
different.
no. See, no, that's if you're spending it correctly, it could be great. But
You're burning it in a
eventually,
furnace? That's how somehow spending it correctly?
no, if you're spending it correctly, not if you're burning it in the furnace. If you're
Right.
spending it correctly, no,
Right,
you gotta
right,
spend
right.
it correctly. Like if you give me $300 million to make a movie, like I don't know how to spend it, but you give somebody capable of $300 million, you give that same person $400 million. Eventually, if you give them $500 million, they're just wasting money, or there's a point where they're gonna waste money. So.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
let me shoot off a couple more here. Metal Gear Survive is the right way to move on from a legendary director creating a legendary series of games.
Yeah, so you don't have to remind everybody.
Randy
course it was.
Pitchford is a perfect babysitter to leave your children with for hours.
Did he do something with kids?
Well, but he knows how
this
to do
guy
magic.
is-
He knows how to do
This guy
magic.
looks like he
He also made
molests
Borderlands. No, don't say that. We don't want to. That's not even something you joke about. You don't want to make him out to be a
but-
Jared.
He just... Well, he actually looks like an older Jared.
Yeah, don't. I mean, there are similarities. Don't get me wrong. But
He looks like he's an older... Why?
No.
Continuing on.
Anyways,
Martin Scorsese should be hired to direct Black Panther 2.
that is hysterical. I
Rocks.
love
Go
that.
ahead.
I would love that so much.
I think it's very fitting, considering his and Mr. Ford Coppola's comments regarding the nature or their opinions of the MCU films as cinema? Question mark?
No, they're not.
Rockstar should be hired by Activision to develop the next Call of Duty to improve on its shooting mechanics.
Oh my god.
I would, yeah, let's do that. I want to do that.
I would love to see that. People would be like, wow,
I-
this story is really good.
Yeah.
I think I have one about Rockstar, don't I?
This story is so good, but I can't shoot anything.
Oh, I have one for Rockstar.
Go for it.
Rockstar games are only okay, and they are only well loved because of the past history.
Pedigree.
That's. Oh. I don't know if that's a truth, like an actual, like something you believe in.
It's at least a half truth.
It's a half. Yeah, it's a half.
It's a half truth. Now, there's great. Rockstar games are great, other than the combat and like the game part. Like
Right. The
the
mechanics.
Rockstar storytelling, wonderful. Lost in a World, I'm in. Everything else, I don't want to play.
Lovely.
What else you got? Give me a couple more.
Adult video games should be more mainstream,
Like,
I fully agree with this.
like porn,
uh,
like porn video games,
Oh, that's well.
like the Mass Effect stuff.
Well,
Just make that into a entire game.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
that's a truth from you.
You 100% believe it's truth. Those would be easy trophies. Also, have a good time. We can start that Saturday show.
That's right. We can.
We can start that Saturday show. We can
That's
build for
right.
trophies and call it Pushing the Limit.
Right.
It's a double entendre.
S&M Saturdays. Nice.
Exactly.
Feeling it. Feeling it.
I'm
All right.
good
Here's
to go on that.
here's a couple.
I'll fund that.
Great. Here's a couple more for me. Teachers around the world should mirror the Ubisoft model for diversity, acceptance, and gender respect in the classroom.
That's actually hilarious. That's the only one that I've gotten that is actually fantastically hilarious. But keep going.
Huh?
Sean Murray should quit Hello Games to be the guy that explains the roadmap for all pre-orders in the game industry moving forward.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Every pre-order would just be like,
Well,
oh my god.
if you think about it though, like when it launches, everyone will be super excited but then disappointed. But like 3 years later, it's gonna be something real good. You know what I'm saying?
Every single game is going to be like that, though.
good.
We'll have to wait. So wait a minute. So let's say 2020. You announce a game for 2021. It'll only be good by 2024, and it'll be mainstream by 2025, and then it'll die in 2026.
New console.
Oh my god, that's genius. Can we actually get that done?
I would love that.
It'll be something.
Oh my god.
All right, Adam, hit me back. What else you got?
Every game should have a VR mode in order to push the industry forward.
That's a truth you believe in.
That's just a very reasonable thing to say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Is it?
Yeah, I think it is.
You
Yeah,
think
most-
every game should have a VR mode?
I think that's a reasonable
More-
thing. If
there's
you want to
very-
move
That
things
is-
forward.
that is not a
cannot
truth.
have a VR mode.
Yeah, that's not a truth for me. I don't think every
Really?
game should have. Yeah, because it should build naturally. It shouldn't be forced, not mandated.
Yeah, but there are very few games that can't have a VR mode. Like I can think of many games that could do well with a VR mode. Ghost, Metal Gear.
What would Ghost
Drive
play
Club?
like with a VR mode?
That would be insane. Oh my
That
god,
would
you'd
be
have
a
motion
separate
sickness.
game.
You'd have motion sickness like crazy, but it would be insane.
Nah, I don't. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
I mean, it would be cool. Honestly, I think that would be.
I mean, some games should have a
Can
VR mode.
you imagine God of War in VR mode?
No, that'd be awful. I wouldn't want to play that.
You don't have to. It's just optional.
No, I don't want it to be there. It seems like it's a waste of time and resources.
All right. Another?
Microsoft deserves to own Bethesda more than Sony.
No.
Well,
They
Honestly-
can afford them, but do they deserve
That's
to
not.
own them?
Yeah, that's what I said.
honestly, they probably wouldn't be bad to have somebody, whoever it is, own them. As long as they get the decision-making power taken away from them.
Now, Genesis, I'm going to need you to hold on to the ground because this is something I actually believe in.
I'm gonna.
Hold the ground. Hold it. Hold it on.
Because if Sony bought Bethesda, they would just, like, what? Okay. They would,
It's okay.
everything be exclusive immediately. um, there'd be no positives to the community. Microsoft, they bought it. There's positives. It's coming to Game Pass. It's going to be on PC still. Sony it's not. It would be completely different. So
There would be no positives.
there'd be positives.
You said there'd be no positives.
There's positives for Microsoft. There'd be no I mean, for us, there'd be positives, but for like the community, no.
What community are you talking about? Because this is why
gaming
people buy
community.
a PlayStation for the exclusive games that come on it. So how would that not be a positive?
You know what?
Because you can't. Some people just prefer an Xbox ecosystem.
And you know what? We can continue that discussion in our next segment. But we're almost done. Let's close it out here a little bit. I've got 10 more, so I'm gonna go a little bit quick here and
Yeah,
Sure, I got four.
rapid fire 'em.
So-
I'm gonna shoot out 3 more here. Michael Bay should be hired to reboot Gone with the Wind.
Oh God.
Jason Schreier is the worst thing to happen to video games since backwards compatibility.
I have questions on that one, but keep going.
13 Reasons Why should be mandatory viewing for all those struggling with COVID depression.
I agree with that one.
Okay.
Kingdom Hearts is the best example of a clear-cut, perfectly accessible narrative in video games.
Well, that's just a fact. That's a straight up fact.
All right, Adam, go ahead.
Well, I want to jump into this Jason Schreier backwards compatibility thing.
Okay.
Jason Schreier, you're saying is the worst since backwards compatibility, but so that would mean that he's the best since backwards compatibility. I'm confused on where the truth is in that.
There's no truth in that.
Oh, there's got to be some truth in that.
There's no truth in that. And that's
What's
coming
the comparison
straight...
of him and backwards compatibility?
It's not. There's not. They're both good things. Again, this is you've thought way too much into it, and that's the problem with absurdity. It's just so easy. It's so easy to fall into
really
that
absurd,
trap.
we would have to say something like racist, sexist, or something awful.
No, I don't want to. I don't. No, this is not shock.
Yeah, no, we don't want to do that.
It's not shock value we're going for. We're going for
Oh,
absurdity.
we're going for shock.
Well,
Shock.
you can go
What
for
is
shock.
absurdity and shock seem similar?
They are not. They are not.
Well, I said seem.
But they're
And
not.
is that an absurd statement?
No,
All right, well, never mind.
it's just a misinformed statement.
The new God of War is more repetitive than the old God of Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Kingdom Hearts is gaudy.
Kingdom Hearts is gaudy.
In 20 years, only 5 Marvel movies will be remembered.
In 20 years? It could be. It could be.
Mm-hmm.
I can't argue with that. Something
And then
to
I
think
have
about.
my final one. This is just...
All right, hold on to that. Hold on to that. Let me.
I'll
let me
hold it. I'll hold it.
Let me shoot a couple more off here. Kevin Feige should learn from the Disney Star Wars sequel trilogy as the best example of developing a major franchise among a variety of different filmmakers to form a unified vision.
I'd agree.
We should all be paying more for video games, consoles, and PCs. In fact, we should barely afford that privilege at all. Like healthcare.
Only in
That's
America.
funny. Thank you. I was about to say, except for our Canadian viewers and the rest
Je-
of the world.
Jesse Eisenberg should be cast as Michael Cera in a biopic of Michael Cera's life story.
I mean, that's one. Not even sarcastically. That's 100% true.
That's very confusing too. I would never be able to tell the two apart.
But they should also make a Jesse Eisenberg story, and they should cast the guy McLovin, the dude who played McLovin, to play him.
Ah.
It'll be a super bad relation, and Jonah Hill's also in it. But for
There you
some
go.
reason, Michael Cera's not.
The Salvation Army should start giving a portion of its proceeds to video game developers to cover the cost of the ever-increasing budgetary constraints.
I don't have an opinion on that one. I gotta be honest.
Well, they have to go with all of these different kind of revenue streams in order to fund, the burgeoning cost of development. So might as well turn it into a full-on charity case if that's the way it's got to be.
Well, I mean, it's better than giving it to a bunch of poor people. They're not making games.
That's true. They're not, and therefore have no value. See, you've got to make games in order to have value.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree. Don't give it to the poor people. They don't do anything with it anyway. All they do is sit in the street.
And I'm gonna say one more, and then I'm gonna hold my last one after your last one.
Yeah,
so the next
ahead.
one I have here is The Last of Us 2 is a perfect example of fans coming together to celebrate a franchise for its satisfying narrative development.
There's nothing wrong with that statement. That's a perfect statement, actually.
I actually like that because instead of going after the actual game, you went after the fans, which is funny. Because for Star Wars, you went after the actual Star Wars and not the fans.
This
Clearly,
statement's
you
perfectly
like.
valid, though. All good.
See,
All fantastic.
so
That's
clearly,
a true statement. That is not
like
actually
Last
in
of
this
Us 2.
discussion. Yeah, that's
Well,
a true statement.
when that actually wins Gotti, we'll see.
Yeah.
It won't.
Everybody, clip that.
Oh
Play it
yeah,
back
you can clip
for
it
us.
right now. You can clip
I
it
clipped
right
it.
now.
Got it. Clipped.
Thank you.
Done.
Yeah,
It's
good.
archived.
Good.
Saved.
Good.
Popped in my folder. Popped in my phone. Uploaded to the
wow.
cloud. In the ground.
What
Good.
the hell?
You'll need
Are you
need you'll need all of those additional reminders when the time comes, just to snap
Set
yourself
in my
out of
calendar
it.
reminder. Put up on my fridge. It's a post-it note on the back of my video game controller.
Yeah. Nice little nostalgic reminder, kind of harkening back to last year in Death Stranding. Anywho, Adam, what's your last one?
From what little we've seen of the Batman, Robert Pattinson is better than Christian Bale, George Clooney, Val Kilmer, Michael Keaton, and Kevin Conroy combined.
Oh, that's a hot take. Little,
Is it real?
it's not. That's not real. It's not real. Kevin Conroy by himself can equal what little we've seen of Robert Pattinson.
I'm about to throw you boys for a loop.
There's no way you believe that.
There's no way I believe that.
That's
we haven't
correct.
seen enough.
That's correct.
If there's one thing I know about you, there's no way you believe that.
Kilmer,
He could be.
Clooney actually counts as negative value for anything regarding.
Well,
Batman.
not today. Not during this segment. He does.
George Clooney?
Val Kilmer is like only a little bit more. But yeah, Kevin Conroy by
Val
himself.
Kilmer would make a better Batman now than '95.
You're right. Well, he'd make a thicker one. So
And if you guys, well, that's messed up because he's sick. But
Sick.
no,
So
no, all right.
So the last one that I have here for my absurd hot takes. People who buy sports games every year should be allowed to file for disability benefits.
Why would
Wow.
that be an incorrect statement? That's a perfect statement. What's wrong
Wow,
with that statement?
that's shots
That's not
fired.
a hot take. That's just a fact you're stating. That's a fact
is
and a half that you're
shots
stating
fired.
right there. So the people who buy this every single year expecting something different should be able to file for disability because clearly they are just disabled in the brain.
Again, hot takes, but absurd hot takes. Not
And that's not an
necessarily
absurd hot take.
reflective.
That's just, that was a truth. That was a
These are
hard-
100% reflective of Giuseppe's character.
These are incorrect.
Everything I said, I was actually forced to write down by Giuseppe. I just want to throw that out there. Also, I will never forgive you for the Breaking Bad one since you haven't watched it.
Yeah,
So
good. I figured to throw that one in there because it is such a sensitive issue for you. But yeah, I get
I
you.
actually brought
get
it
you.
up to my mom today that you haven't seen it, and then she said, "Well, it's his loss. Also, he likes the Adjustment Bureau." So she really does not like that movie.
Well, opinions vary.
Yeah. Yes, they do.
So you guys had a nice little discussion last week without me, and you had
Oh
discussed,
yeah, it was really nice.
you discussed a number of things,
So
and
nice.
apparently there was there was some
So
kind
nice.
of
It's great.
there was a
Great
request
cable.
to kind of like get my
Nice
opinion
positive
regarding
episode.
the Bethesda buyout by Microsoft.
Oh yeah.
Where just really quick, if you guys could just sum up your opinions in like a sentence or two, where do you guys stand on the Bethesda buyout?
You want to go first, Adam, or you want me to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. My opinions are Bethesda's been going downhill, so this could be a good thing for Bethesda. Also, I don't think it makes sense for now to make them exclusive games, since a lot of the games are in development already for PlayStation consoles. I think they keep the exclusives out the door for now, until why stop now with the gaining $70 per thing sold? Plus, I think having them day one on Game Pass is enough of a oh god, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word. It's enough of in like a what's the word? You guys know. Not
Uh,
enforcement. Enough of
Shake up?
incentive. Thank you.
Incentive.
The voice of our Lord and Savior. Yeah, it's enough of an incentive. Thank you, somebody who's listening. Others shooting a dog and the other one's flying away.
Well, I was
But
looking at what he was shooting at. I didn't
What?
quite.
Who else is? No, I killed the dog because it bothered me. Who else is listening? There's nobody else here.
you didn't hear the voice of her. Okay, never mind.
No, I didn't hear no.
But yeah, no, I think it's when I first saw it, I was like, oh damn, like oh. But then after, I was like, I don't really care about Bethesda games, so I don't really care.
Okay. Genesis?
My simple opinion was that I don't think it's going to make a difference when it comes to what the main competition is between like Sony and Microsoft in terms of like studios that they have and all this stuff. Bethesda's been popping out games that are just buggy and messes and things like that for quite a bit now. And I don't think it's going to really affect a lot of stuff in the grand scheme of things. It's only going to expand their Game Pass, which I think we had a small discussion on Game Pass, how it's just going to end up, I think, just ruining things down the line if it just keeps going the way it is. So that was my
fears
opinion.
of Game Pass, yeah.
Yeah, that was my opinion on that.
Okay. Those are very reasonable opinions to have. Reasonable outlooks to think about it.
Let's hear your crazy opinion.
My crazy opinion is, if the Bethesda buyout doesn't make any much of a difference for the industry or for Microsoft moving forward, that's a pretty silly acquisition on their part, buying for the sake of buying, in order to achieve the status quo and to maintain that somehow. I think that's a whole bunch of silliness. I don't think any company acquires anything without an expressed interest to exploit it in a very particular kind of way. That's why I do 100% believe that exclusivity is not only on the table, has already been discussed, but they've already timed it out as to when it's going to all go down. I think we're going to see timed exclusives come sooner than what everyone suspects. I would say when you get past the 6 month barrier, past the new console releases, I think that's when you're going to start seeing it. I would say a year and a half after these new consoles launch, you're going to start seeing major titles that were Bethesda branded, Arcane Studios. Yeah, you're going to start seeing those be exclusive in some capacity, whether it be significant content, portions of the game, DLC. Yeah, they're and they have to, because it doesn't make much sense to go ahead and acquire a first-party developer and publisher, by the way, when you don't plan on actually using it to try to consolidate your base to solidify your brand, especially in light of competition with the other boys on the other side, who, by the way, won this past console generation off of the strength of, well, primarily off the strength of first-party titles that were exclusive to that console. And people, not not every single Sony exclusive is a masterpiece and a game that should be played by everyone, but they're all very high quality titles that have mainstream appeal, and they set a very high quality threshold that is, quite frankly, not reflective of the rest of the industry when it comes to their output in general. And this is the reason Sony understands that content is king. And content sells consoles, it sells your brand, it sells everything else that you want to bring consumers to your party so that they can spend money on their platform, however it is. And Microsoft's acquisition of Bethesda can give them that kind of allure, that kind of appeal, consumer-wise, to get people to think about the actual Xbox, whichever version that they want to sell, the $300 one, the $500 one, whatever they want, people to really buy into, get in on the next gen. Acquiring first-party studios, that's the way that if you can't create it, original content on your own, then go ahead and do the Disney way. Buy companies that will create original content for you. But then you got to use it. You have to engage it. You can't just say, well, you know what, Arcane Studios, we're going to have you on a multi-game contract to develop Dishonored 3, 4, and 5, and we just want to just continue to release it for everybody and just maintain the status quo. I don't understand what competitive advantage that gives them at all. I mean, other than just, selling a few more copies on other platforms. But how much more money can you consolidate for yourself as opposed to sharing within the industry when you make those games exclusive to your platform? Now you get people thinking about your brand, thinking about your console, thinking about Game Pass, thinking about all these other peripheral services that are tied to your platform now. Now that you have other reasons to, not just these superfluous things. When people already have it in their mind, generally speaking, you want to play a video game, well, it doesn't really matter what platform you have. You'll be able to play it one way or the other. I think a return to the old school console wars is a good thing for competition. And theoretically, with increased competition, that's going to push developers, platforms, publishers to up their game, to make a better quality product instead of a lowest common denominator product, which is kind of the trend where the industry is going. It's a disturbing trend. I don't want to see that. I want, especially when they're going to be increasing the price of games. There's no way that you can convince me that I should be spending more money on games just because. I'm sorry. If it's a better quality game, yeah, I think that's a very reasonable thing to expect of consumers. But if you're just going to release the same old status quo trash and just charge me extra money just because, well, I'm sorry. I'll be totally fine waiting for the inevitable deep dive sale on all these software copies, whether it be digitally, whether it be physically, when those sales are not rolling in because the quality isn't there, and people aren't just gonna, they're just not gonna just hand over their dollars as a result. So, long story short, I think the Bethesda buyout is good for Microsoft. I think if it means a return to the old school console wars, it could generate another generation of consoles beyond this one. Most people kind of think that this is the last generation of consoles. Who knows for sure? They do.
Yeah,
they do.
Yeah, PS3
they do.
360 was the last one, and
yeah, they do.
It's annoying.
But we'll see. I think it's a good thing for Microsoft, but they have to use it. They can't just sit on their laurels with it. They have to use it. They have to
weaponize
it.
Minecraft.
Yeah,
make it exclusive.
Well,
Huh?
I'm just yeah. Well, I'm just
What?
saying that's. I think it's a silly choice on their part to continue
Let me
this
ask you a
support the way
question,
that it
Giuseppe.
is. Yeah.
So this is a general question to you based on the opinions I've heard from you so far.
Okay.
Is Game Pass something that appeals to you as a gamer?
Oh, yeah.
The idea of it. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
No, actual Game Pass.
Like the Game Pass currently, the Game Pass right now on Xbox, does that appeal to you as a gamer?
No, because I don't own an Xbox platform, and I have no interest in getting one, and that
Wow.
by
So here,
itself,
so let
and
me
that by
let me
itself
clarify the
does not.
question.
That by itself does not.
So let me clarify this. Let me clarify, because your opinion says differently, and I wanna hear what you have to say on this. So
Okay.
you don't technically have to have an Xbox to play Game Pass. First, second,
I can play Game
this-
Pass on a PS4.
you can play Game Pass on a PC. You can play Game Pass
I
on
don't.
your phone. You
I
can play Game Pass on
Genesis. Let me stop you right there. I am a
Yeah.
Using
console.
XCloud, you don't actually have to.
I am.
get
I am
all that, so.
I am a console gamer. I'm a Sony exclusive console gamer. I cannot afford a PC of any prominence, hardware wise, to accommodate playing games on a PC.
You
If
can,
if
because you could stream it with XCloud.
no, you don't understand. I cannot afford a PC to play any games on.
You could stream
I
it on
play-
your phone with XCloud.
Yeah, you don't need to have the so
I have
here's
no.
the thing.
I have less interest in playing any kind of console games on a phone. No, 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 no.
Tablet?
That's a whole bunch of silliness. Don't have a
So
tablet.
let me
Don't
just
own a
clarify
tablet.
the reason why I'm asking you this, because
Okay.
your opinion from what you thought of what Bethesda and I'm assuming you said where the industry is going, and you as a gamer, all that combined, and just the question that I'm asking you, you have as a gamer, you have a limited budget of which you want to spend on games that you want. Correct? There's only a
Yeah.
few
There's
handful
only
of games.
there's only so many dollars that can be spent on.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Now, this service is here giving you the ability to use those same dollars you would have spent on one or two games to then have the entire library of the games in front of you, and you can play those anytime you want. Let's just take Sony out of the question for just 1 second, because I understand you play on PlayStation for the exclusives.
Right.
But as just a gamer in general, based on the opinions you've given and what your dollar speaks versus where you don't want to see the industry going, does Game Pass have any sort of significance to you if it was up to like just $1 in general to you? Because that technically is giving you more bang for your buck, especially if it's in a position like a lot of people are in this day and age, where they don't have the available funds to be able to purchase every single game that they want to buy. I'm sure there are other games that came out this year they're like, I'd love to have tried, but I can't, because there's only one or two that I really need or want to try, versus those that are just like, maybe I would give those a shot later.
I wasn't making any kind of argument to or for the value of Game Pass. I think that function for that platform and PCs, but whatever. The main draw, the main marketing is for that platform. I think it's a tremendous value. I think it's a great thing for Xbox players, and I think it's a wonderful value for those moving forward into next gen and beyond. I think it's a great way to try to get more people onto that brand. Doesn't do anything for me because I have no interest in. I have no interest in an overextended backlog that I have at my disposal whenever I want. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. It's a nice, convenient thing. It's an economical thing. But for me, not money isn't the only limited resource here. It's also time. I don't have time to delve into that huge, massive backlog, play any game, every game, blah, blah, blah. Like, I have a very, very particular tastes, and that's why, for me, reading reviews, articles, seeing YouTubers, Let's Plays, Twitch streams, all of that stuff is very important to me before I make any kind of a purchase these days. And it's been like that for me for a number of years now. There are very, very few games that I would just jump into sight unseen. I can't even remember the last one that I made a purchase on. And I will only spend money on games that I know that I'm going to enjoy to some degree. You'll never know ultimately until you actually play the game. You never know. The best you can do is get the most information you can, and a range of opinions to kind of like help draw your own. So all of that, to me, it's a little bit burdensome to have all of these games, the whole catalog at my disposal. When like for instance, if they were to offer that for Sony, I don't necessarily think I'd jump into that either, regardless of the value of it, because I just don't see myself having the time to really like take advantage of that situation, nor would I have the interest to go into all those different kinds of games. I mean, I just don't think I'd have it. So I have to cater my spending to my own habits. But again, that's not to take anything away from Game Pass. I think it's a wonderful thing. I think it's a great deal.
So let me end my question with this last thing I want to ask you. So you said before, you're like, you said that it would be good if console wars happened again, like an old school console war.
Sure.
Game Pass, and this is my opinion, and I think Adam and I spoke about this last week, and I think he shares the same opinion. Game Pass is not going to ignite that second console war, or that console war that you're talking about.
Yeah,
because obviously it's taking into a different, it's going into a different direction where it's becoming available on anything that you can play on, such as a Switch, PC, and Xbox.
Yeah, I agree. Console exclusives will, and I believe that the Bethesda buyout is a step in that direction. And if it isn't, I think that's a silly I think it's a silly buy on Microsoft's part if that's not their ultimate end intention with that buy. Just doesn't make any sense to me.
Because the only thing that we've gotten from Microsoft is that they're going to have those games appear first on Game Pass. So like anybody who has this service, let's say when the Elder Scrolls 6 or whatever, Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, it will be available day one on Game Pass, and whoever has that will not have to pay $60 that day to play it. They already have subscribed to Game Pass. They will have the game right then and there ready for them. When you think about it that way, it's not technically exclusivity. It's just that more people will flock towards that service or that platform to do that because it's more accessible for them. What maybe you already explained this, but what I want to know is your opinion on how you think that's going to impact everything else by the end of this generation coming up.
Well, it depends on how much money they feel that they're generating strictly from that service, and if it's competition, so basically Sony, if they get any kind of wind of it, and they look at the information that they have. Now, I'm not saying that corporate espionage isn't a thing. Clearly, it is. If they get it into their own minds that the money made off a similar kind of service, then you can definitely count on emulation. Nintendo does their version of it. Sony will do their version of it. If it's in the cards, if the profit margins are there to have a similar effect, I think that would be the only thing that would really come of it. But its ability, the Game Pass's ability to draw consumers into their brand and their stable, just based on that alone, needs to be bolstered by console exclusivity, because you're just talking about adding more value on top of the value. If you're talking about the impact to Microsoft, specifically the Xbox branch of Microsoft, if having a benefit as a result of it. But again, it's still too early to tell what the effect industry wide would be. Sony doesn't have a version of that. It's just not the same thing with their what are they calling it? Their
PS Now.
exclusives. PS Now. No,
PlayStation Plus collection.
PlayStation.
the
Yeah,
PlayStation
PS
Plus
collection.
collection.
Yeah, it's not the same thing at all.
It's not the same thing. It's a far cry from that, but maybe they're testing the waters with a program like that to see how much attention it gets. I think that too is an excellent idea for Sony. I would like to see it expanded upon,
Jim Ryan was like, no, that we've looked into that. It's not something we're ever going to do.
Yeah, they
Well,
don't. I don't think they want to do it.
Companies change their mind, and as we've talked about it on here before, like they're not as transparent as sometimes we would like them to be. But I
Right.
don't think this is like
may not.
as we
They may not.
we talked about it last week, and I brought it up. My main point is with Game Pass, I don't think it's going to look the same in 2 years.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's the.
It might scale it back.
It'll be scaled back, or it will be more expensive, or
Yeah, it's going to be more expensive. It's going to have more stuff. And
It
it's gonna
has to
cost
change eventually, because even if you have 50 million users on it, it's already at 15. Like it's not enough to support $300 million budget games.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Which
and
is
that's a, yeah. Go ahead.
yeah. No, that's really it, because it just doesn't make sense to me as of yet. Maybe in 2 years it'll be the same, and we'll know more about it and how it works. But right now, I have literally no idea.
And that's another reason why I don't like tying my game consumption to any kind of subscription service, any kind of recurrent spending, because it is subject to differentiation in cost, and that can occur spontaneously, and that combined with my disinterest in having basically like 20 games on my plate at any given time that I want to jump into. No, I like, for me it's just not an intriguing enough option for gaming for me. I like my tastes as it stands right now. I like keeping a nice, like less than 5 games that I'm currently playing or spending any kind of time with, and then rotating in and out of them. You know what I mean? I like to really focus on the experience. I don't get much out of a fragmented experience. I know that there are a ton of people out there that's their thing, and that's cool. If that does it for you, if you have that kind of like sporadic attention span and you totally get everything out of it in that way, then cool. But that's definitely not for me. But yeah, it's definitely going to get more
question
expensive.
for you.
Sure.
About what you were saying when you first started talking about Bethesda and Microsoft. You said that the Sony games they're of a different quality, like a higher quality than most
I would say
other
they
games,
are.
right?
I would say they are. Yeah.
Are you okay with them increasing the price of those games?
Yes.
Because
I would
you
say
said
yes.
you're okay with the price increase as long as we get better games.
Right.
Or do you feel
Yeah.
like we've been getting them for $60? Why are they now going to 70? If the quality is going to remain the same, but
Yes.
that quality is still higher than the industry average.
I would say yes. Generally speaking, I'd be all right with it. I still would not. I would not be buying into day one buys. I would still, because at the end of the day, the cost is still real. The struggle, just like the struggle is real. The cost is real. And for me, I don't feel comfortable spending any more money than I've already been spending on games. I can't remember the last game that I've spent full price on. It's just like, because it's just everybody understands the inevitability of cost increase. Yes, for everything gets more expensive every year. But when it comes to games, man, you see the pricing patterns. Sales happen sooner, faster, and more often. Just wait, and I'm cool with being patient, because quite frankly, I've got games that I can go back to, and that, in fact, that's been the majority of this year. I've been playing, games that have come out in the years previous. I haven't really spent a ton of time, comparatively speaking, to the games that have been released this year, as opposed to the ones that have been released in previous years. But yes, I would say generally speaking, I would be much more comfortable spending or being asked to spend more money on games that clearly have a higher quality. I have, I think it's an absolute farce that the Call of Duties and the sports games have been the first on board with this whole price increase model, because those guys represent the most generic video game quality, production, and entertainment that the industry has. And I think it's a sham, it's a shame, it's disgusting, it's repugnant that those guys were first to jump onto it, because again, that's all that represents is shameless money grabbing. They're not. There's no chance on this planet, in this reality, where we're going to see a vast increase in the quality of Call of Duty and sport games as a result of this move. Not a chance. If anything, we're going to see more bugs. We're going to see more nonsense. We're going to see more predatory pricing, more
Gambling.
DLC, gambling mechanics. Yeah,
gambling,
you toss
yeah.
toss it all in there. We're going to see more of it on top of increased price. So, again, I'll go ahead and refer back to my previously mentioned absurdity statement. You basically have to be an admitted disabled person if you feel like that's an equitable situation that you're just going to continue on because it's Call of Duty, or because it's the new Madden, or the next 2K. No, no, that's just a whole bunch of ridiculousness. It's just ridiculous, and it's a shame that that communities can continue to fund that situation. But hey, if that's what you want to spend your money on, far be it from me to tell you to tell you what to spend your money on. But generally speaking, you're just not. You should not be, and nobody should. Nobody should be expecting an increase in quality from your Call of Duties, your sports games, or any of your other annual circulation franchises to really earn that additional price point, the additional cost to that game. That money's just going right back into either the shareholders' hands or the CEO's hands, like Bobby Kotick. Yeah, it's not going back into the company. It's certainly not going back to their employees, and it's certainly not going to translate into better quality entertainment for you and me.
I would agree that not necessarily going to be better, but I would disagree saying that it will not necessarily get worse.
I think the industry has plenty of history on its side, proving that it can and will get worse before it gets better. They will definitely push the envelope to make things worse in terms of taking more money out of individual consumers in the most shameless nickel and dime way. I think that's to be expected. And then there was another thing that you guys had discussed briefly, talking about party games. What was that? What was that about? Talking about party
Yeah,
games.
our viewer Cork was asking us about our opinions on party games, and he had brought
He's been
up
quiet
Among Us.
today.
Yeah, he's been quiet.
I don't think he likes Giuseppe. So
Well, that's all. Well, that's fine. I don't care much for people who don't like me either. So how about that?
wow,
I mean, he didn't even say anything, but okay.
that was just a joke. Oh my god. Giuseppe just showed his true colors. What
That's
the
right.
hell?
That's right. This heart is black. This heart is black.
You know, I
Wow,
agree with
racist.
the black hearts. It's fine. It's okay. Hearts can be
Oh,
black and
no,
white.
no,
You
no,
can't
no,
have-
no, no, no,
It's all
no,
about-
no, 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 nope, 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 nope. The party game thing though was Corey. He said that like what are just general thoughts on party games, and we both said they were good. I said that they were good. Genesis said they were good. I don't know if we had other things.
Party
I just said
games.
they brought people together.
Party
Yeah.
games can be not just good. Party games can be great, and I'm really sad that we haven't really seen an evolution on party games when there's lots of opportunity to do so. I keep referencing back, and this is going back to the PS3 generation. One of my favorite party games of all time was the Buzz quiz game show. For PS3, it came in a box with four plastic buzzer that you would basically pair up with a USB stick that you'd plug into the PS3, and have that be your expansion for getting 4 players in on a local game. You could also play this game online at the time, back in the day.
You need a remake of that. That game was good.
It was so
I know,
good.
we talked about that earlier in the week too.
It was such a cool party game, but and it had a lot of like the standard things that you expect of like a party quiz show game. Like video interaction, different kinds of games, different ways to win points and what have you. But the thing that really set Buzz apart from all other party games was its ability to allow users to create their own quizzes with their own questions and their own whatever. It wasn't particularly diverse because it only really allowed you to make a series of, I believe it was 10 questions, and you could only create them in multiple choice answers. You couldn't mimic the more dynamic games like the pie throwing one. You couldn't create your own version of that or anything. It was just strictly the multiple choice, 4 answers to 1 question. But again, you logged onto a website. You basically made all of these questions. You input all of your answers, and then you'd be able to play that game off of the Buzz game through PS3, logging onto the servers. I thought that was just a phenomenal concept, and I totally got into it. I made a whole bunch of them too, and I actually did get to play a couple times with some of my friends. But by the time I was really I wanted to get even more into it, and I was considering starting a league or something crazy like that. I was super interested in it. The servers for the Buzz show had shut down, and that ability to create your own quizzes evaporated. And by that time, the rumor mill was already started about PS4s, and just about everything that was PS3 era was kind of left in the dust. So I would love to see the continued expansion and evolution of party games, because it is a great way to bring people together. It's a great way to have fun in a way that isn't cutthroat competition like your Call of Duties or games of that ilk.
Well, you had a lot of fun on the Jackbox games when you were
Jackbox is also Jackbox is very fun, and using smartphones as the expansion of controllers to get more people involved in the actual game. That's an inspired evolution. I'd like to see more of that. I think the sky's the limit when it comes to party games. I want to see more of it. Let's get it, industry. But we don't always get what we want.
I'm waiting for Among Us to hit consoles. That's the biggest thing right now out that a lot of people are just raving about, and I think
it's pretty popular.
Super interested in that. Yeah,
pretty popular.
I remember when that game came out.
It wasn't popular at all. It had no.
Yeah, it was one of those hey, it's available now.
Everyone's
like, what is this? Then it took off just right after Fall Guys happened, and
I gotta be honest. As much as I watch, I keep watching people. I keep watching people who are playing that, and I'm like, this does not look fun.
It's a lot of fun when you play it. It is a ton of fun.
I've seen it. For some reason, watching it's not interesting at all to me. I don't know why.
Before I tried it myself, I think watching it, I was just curious. It wasn't like, oh my god, this is amazing. I was curious to see what this was about. So I tried it once. I tried it once and I really liked it. I played it a bunch, and now when I watch it, it makes more sense to me, and I like to see how people
get
defensive and see what how deceptive people can get. And when initially it was just okay, well this guy's clearly not good at lying. Now it's not about being good about lying. It's just how well you can pin stuff on other people or turn people's words inside out, and it's okay,
that sounds like lying. I got to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, because there's people who are bad liars who play this game, but then they get away with it because they just play they just play it well, honestly. Not the a role or anything. They just play the game very well, and I'm like, you're not good at lying. I've seen you lie at other things before, and you don't know how to do that. But for whatever reason, you get into character for this, and it's there, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, sounds pretty fun.
Suck at lying.
You know what's not fun though?
What?
CD Projekt Red's announcement about mandatory 6-day week crunch time before the launch of Cyberpunk 2077 in November. That's not so fun. That's hot off the presses news. Once again, crunch culture in the video game industry rears its ugly head once again. Not shocked. Nobody should be shocked. Little disappointing though, seeing how they had a little interaction with a notable Jason Schreier previously regarding its sentiment that Cyberpunk 2077 was not going to be a game that was going to feature any crunch in its development. And
I guess they had some interviewers or people they interviewed, and they were saying to go to work for CD Projekt Red, and they're like, "Yeah, no, we're not going to crunch for anything like that." And all of a sudden, they get messages from corporate saying, "Yeah, we need to crunch a 6-day week."
Yeah, and here we are once again, crunch for still a beloved and relatively positively looked upon developer in CD Projekt Red. Again, they gained a whole lot of love from the community and the industry as a result of Witcher 3 and other projects. But they are not above crunch. And what do we have to say about that? Does anyone have any opinion on that situation?
So I have a question. Why? So explain this whole crunch culture to me, because wouldn't it make more sense just to delay it again if you have to crunch for time?
Well,
it costs money to delay things.
I see. But doesn't it also cost money to do crunch because you have to pay these people extra days and overtime?
Well,
it probably is way less than delaying it.
And
really?
And for the companies that maybe they don't actually pay the overtime rate. Maybe they just simply pay them the regular rate and demand them to put in the extra hours. Again, these are the little games.
Sometimes they're not paid.
Right. Sometimes they're not paid.
But this one actually is paid. So
right.
That's one good thing about this.
So, but these are the little games that developers do. And sometimes it's coming from the developer. Sometimes it's coming from the publisher. It's very difficult to track. Again, all these situations are unique to their own circumstances. But crunch culture in general, it's not seen as a positive thing from the outside looking in. I can understand how it's viewed as a necessary evil from within the industry, but that seems to be an opinion that's held strictly by the managers and executives of software developers and publishers. Doesn't seem to be a sentiment that's backed up very much by the actual artists and the coders and any of the other talent that actually do the creation of games. So there's a significant divide that's going on there. And the way that I see crunch culture is as I don't think it is as necessary to the process as the Bobby Koticks of the world would have us believe. I think crunch is something that can easily be dispensed with if resource management, when it comes to payroll, talent, and budget, were better managed on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis in order to plan out a better calendar of progression when it comes to game development. I don't like how crunch really relies on last-second development to somehow make or break a game's release. Like that I don't understand, especially for certain titles that have, or at least claim to have, years of development time put into it.
Because they delayed this game twice, and you're still crunching for time. Like, I guess I don't know. It doesn't make much sense to me when I read this headline today, saying that they're demanding the 6 day work weeks because they need to hit the deadline.
Mm.
Like, okay, so if we when we delayed it the second time, did we not know if we were going to hit the deadline, or is it like something came up in the middle and it's like, well, now we have more work to do on our hands, so we have to do crunch time. I don't know. Maybe if we don't know that information, obviously, most likely we don't, as to what the reason is for the extra day that they have to work now, to meet ends meet for this game. But like for this particular situation, is it more likely to be that they found something in the middle and it's like, oh, okay, something else happened and now we have to put more time to it, or they
I don't
just
think so.
didn't gauge time well and we should have delayed it longer, so now we have to hit this date because if we delay it again, it's going to cost us too much money.
I think I think crunch is strictly the result of just piss poor management. And the reason I think that is because more often than not, the managers and the executives in charge of making those decisions, whether it's from within the developer or the publisher or some other larger corporate entity, overseer, what have you, those individuals are not, they don't tend to be former artists, former coders, former level designers, former animators. They are people that have come in from other areas of corporate America in order to do more corporate things, but this time for a video game studio or video game publisher. So they're not coming in with any particular insight in regards to the best ways to manage time, money, resources, and talent in order to hit those deadlines. So what you're seeing, at least this is how I see it, from the outside looking in and not having any direct knowledge as to the process for these companies, but these individuals have been reported from the likes of Jason Schreier and other kind of video game journalists. These are not people that have insight into the process, and yet they have all the power when it comes to making these decisions, and that's a problem. That's a fundamental problem, and it almost always inevitably leads to crunch because at the end of the day, it's good to be the king, and the guys on top in the hierarchy, they step on the people below them and say, hey, well, you guys haven't hit X amount of goal thresholds by this time. You're gonna have to come up. You're gonna have to make it up some way somehow, and then the crunch is on. So I really don't think it's. I'm sure that there are more subtle issues in regards to every crunch situation for companies that continue to subscribe to that business practice for simply releasing a product on time. But I think at the end of the day, it really has more to do with just bad management, bad leadership, bad foresight, and I think if those areas were addressed for a company's issues regarding release dates, I think you would see a lot less crunch, a lot less waste when it comes to time, money, resources, and talent. But again, you have to get a significant shift in the way that these businesses have done their business and run their business for decades. You have to get them to change their outlook on things, and I think crunch has just been so ingrained in the culture of these businesses for too long that they just simply accept it as the necessary evil when it does not have to be. With better planning, better leadership, better communication, for crying out loud. It seems that every time there's a story that comes out about something horrible going on in a video game developer or publisher, just seems to be just a fundamental broken aspect to communication between leaders and staff. And it just boggles my mind. It just absolutely confounds me when leaders are there to lead, managers are there to manage, and if communication is broken, well then have they not exposed themselves as being fundamentally derelict in their duties? And yet they continue to have jobs and thrive and profit from the company as a result of their bad work? I don't understand. Again,
So
I don't get it.
let me just bring a different opinion into this because obviously I manage a store of people. I've managed many types of different teams and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And as my style of leadership, I always try and keep doors of communication open as wide as I can with the team that I have, no matter who the team is.
Mm-hmm.
But teams respond differently to the same or different communication depending on how often or how well or how it's being broadcasted. So like the same thing that the same philosophy I've taken to whatever store I go to manage is communication is your main thing. You need to have communication with you and the team, or else the team's going to miss things that you know about, or you'll miss things that the team knows about.
Mm-hmm.
But you're saying that management is the blame, or at least should be is the most of the blame in these situations, like with time crunch and things like that. Has it ever been the side where like maybe the employees are just they don't give a shit? Like sometimes I've worked with teams where the skill is there, but the will to do all that stuff is not there, no matter how much communication and ease of access to knowledge that I can give them or support that I can give them is there. They just don't have the will to do it. So like, okay, let's say management knows what they're doing, but then the teams that they have don't. Is that a more common thing that you think would happen,
Not a
or
chance. I'm not saying
really?
I'm not discounting that as a possibility. Heck, you can go ahead. You can apply it to professional sports, and the culture of losing with certain teams and franchises that simply cannot get out of the basement, for one reason or the other, despite having lots of money for bringing in free agents, despite having high draft picks as a result of poor performance in the regular seasons, and they are the first to get the best fresh new talent coming into that sport. It can certainly explain that is a real thing. It is very possible. However, what's the likelihood?
Yeah, like I said,
A mass of people who, by the way, those people were hired in the first place. And by the way,
mhm.
working for a video game developer is not exactly a common opportunity. It's not like trying to, get a warehouse job at your local Wally World, okay? You have to have some kind of talent and ability to get those kinds of jobs working as a coder, as an animator, as an artist, as a writer, as a voiceover actor. They don't just hire people off the street for that stuff. And those are very, very rare opportunities in compared to the rest of the jobs that are out there in the market. So these people have to demonstrate a certain amount of talent and passion for that work to even get their foot in the door. So what's more likely, that a whole bunch of those people in those rare opportunities, that they're going to spontaneously lose the will, lose their passion for development, for game creation, or a corporate manager type who has nothing vested in the artistry or entertainment value of video games and video game production, and they're there just for profit, to just simply and spontaneously make arbitrary decisions when it comes to the distribution of resources, time, and talent in order to achieve X amount of goals, which may or may not be in line with the corporate line. And perhaps it's even attached to individual bonuses that they get. If the team meets certain thresholds earlier, they get bonuses, and of course everybody else on the staff, they're not privy to that information, but they'll make arbitrary decisions to push the team in that direction for personal profit. What's more likely? What's the more likely scenario?
I can see what you're saying. I can
Yeah.
understand that point. I figured, I would give that side of the
It's
argument at that
it's a
point,
it's
but
a, it's a good devil's advocate question, and you're absolutely right. That situation can clearly exist. It can occur. The team can simply just give up. Doesn't matter, if you have a legendary coach trying to, pump everyone up, trying to get that communication on maximum and get everyone on the same page and pump everyone up, and yet they don't respond to any of it. It could very easily happen, but I just think it's less likely than the alternative in that situation.
Gotcha.
So that's a shame. It's a shame that crunch culture is still a thing in the industry, and it continues to proliferate. I wish that weren't the case. I wish there were a little bit more protections for workers within the industry that are directly responsible for the creation of games that we all enjoy and are entertained by, and we just want to see more and more. But you don't. I mean, I know that there's some people out there that they don't really care about that situation. They just want their games. They don't care how they get it. They want to get it sooner. They want to get it faster. But for me, the more and more that I, get interested in the industry and I want to know a little bit more about, the gears that grind behind the scenes to actually deliver these incredible pieces of art and entertainment and joy. You gotta give more love and respect to the people that are responsible for doing it, and you gotta understand that your Bobby Koticks and your Strauss Zelnicks they're just suits. That they make a whole ton of money for themselves and for the companies they represent, and they don't really have jack shit to say or do about the creation of these awesome games that we get. They're not the ones that are in the trenches doing the work. They're the ones in the ivory tower. And for me, when I look at crunch, I look at people who are the true artists, and I feel that they're getting unnecessarily hammered. I don't understand why. I wish that weren't a thing. My heart goes out to them. I wish they had a little bit more respect. I wish they had a strong labor union to push back on these corporate situations.
They don't have many labor unions for like the video game side.
Nope. I don't believe there are any. At least none of any national significance. Certainly not any of any global. It's possible, but I mean, for the most part, they don't. That's the reason why crunch can be levied on a studio in an instant and for an arbitrary period of time, just like that.
Right.
So I would put this cautionary statement out to any video game developer or publisher. If you want to go out of your way and make statements to the Jason Schreiers of the world, talking about how, hey, we're going to dedicate this next project, we will be crunch free, we'll be free of predatory microtransactions and all that stuff. Don't say that stuff if you're just going to renege on it, even if there's a possibility of reneging on it. And we all know that always will exist, because look at the industry. Just don't say that stuff. Don't make those statements, because you can't back those promises up. Don't you only come out with a little egg on your face. I know CD Projekt Red is just gonna just sweep this all right under the rug, because whatever. They made the statement, and now they made this statement. It's not going to affect them one way or the other. It's not going to affect how they do their business moving forward in the short term, long term, medium term, whatever. But you do come out with a little egg on your face from everybody else who's becoming more and more sensitive to that issue. It gives
that amount of people is just growing every single week.
It is. You're giving your consumers more reasons to not trust you, more reasons to suspect that the game is going to be charging more money than just the sticker price for the ground floor base experience. It gets us all into the mindset that we really aren't getting or we're not getting what we paid for, and that's when, like, all the false advertising complaints and all this stuff comes out, and this and that, and that's, whatever, depending on a case by case basis. But I mean, you're setting your company and the product that you want to sell at odds with the consuming public when you do more and more of these things. And for the life of me, I just don't understand, where is their PR people on this? I mean, don't get me wrong. PR is exactly, they don't really have any kind of clout when it comes to the decision-making process of a company. But man, I gotta tell you, they should at the very least be giving some seminars to these guys saying, hey, look, if this is the way you guys want to run your business, well, you gotta understand, there's a cost to doing this kind of hypocritical things. Don't make statements to the left when you just wind up going to the right. Just don't do it. Don't make any statement.
That makes too much sense for them to do things like that. So they do not make sense.
Yeah. Adam, what do you think about Crunch?
I don't have anything more to add. You guys covered it. You beat it to death.
Beat it down.
Yeah, you guys nailed it. I didn't really have much. You guys were getting it. Also, I don't really care. So.
Yeah, that's troubling.
Not really.
For you, it's not. For me, yeah, it's troubling. That there are people out there that really just don't care. I care. It's no bueno.
Then don't buy any game ever made.
It's
like, there's nothing I can do about it, so I don't care.
Well, I make my little contributions towards that cause. I don't buy games at full price. I buy them on deep sales. I'll buy used games.
I can't remember the last time I actually bought a game at full price.
Ghost of Tsushima.
No, well, yeah, I only bought that at full price because my original discounted order got canceled by this godforsaken company. But yeah, no, originally I was not supposed to pay full price for it. That was just something that happened.
Well, when you're buying it from them, you're still technically paying full price for it, even though it's not full price, because it's discounted through them.
Yeah, so I'm not buying it for full price. I'm just buying it at a discounted price. Otherwise, I would have bought it somewhere else for more.
You're buying it day one for basically full price. It's not the same thing that Giuseppe does, is like a lower price. Because when Giuseppe waits for it to go a lower price, that means the company that sold the game is lowering the price, and the store you're buying it from has lowered the price.
Right.
When you're purchasing it day one, and a certain company you go through gives you a $5 or $10 discount, that company's taking the hit, but that's still full price.
I see what you're saying. Okay, now it makes more sense. Yes.
Yeah. So even though, hey, get it for cheap, man. Hell yeah. I go through Amazon a lot. I buy
Amazon
games full price. Sony exclusives, if I want them, I'm paying full price. Money is not an issue when it comes to video games. It's just one of those things for me. So, and then when you always see interviews about Crunch, and they're like, well, don't not buy our games. We put so much hard work into it. So there's literally nothing we can do. This is all a corporation thing and Jason Schreier.
Well, there are some things that we can do. And there are also nuclear options where people just stop buying into games. There's a lot of casuals out there that, can be just as dissuaded from playing and paying as they can be persuaded into paying and playing.
I don't think the option of telling
it's not
somebody
really
not
an
to buy
option.
the game even exists anymore. Like, I haven't seen that happen in a while for trying to persuade somebody to not buy it due to XYZ reason about either game company, the game itself, or something related to the game. Like, again, I go back to this again, Pokemon had such a divide down the middle for people saying we should just boycott this because this is ridiculous that they're doing this and they're removing things and they're still charging $60. And it had fantastic sales for that game regardless. People just go out and buy it. I don't think there's an option of telling people not to buy it. because people don't listen regardless. They'll just go out and buy it because their friend bought it, because they heard their favorite reviewer say it's amazing, or they don't give a shit. They just go buy it because they don't care.
Well, I'm not saying that boycotts work. I don't believe there's ever been an example of a boycott on a game that's ever like resulted in
Has
anything.
there ever been a boycott of a game?
There's always been calls for. Well, I mean, it depends on what you qualify.
Like an actual successful okay, they all said we're not going to buy it, and it ended up having.
I don't know if you saw them Last of Us 2 sales tank, but we did it, boys! Remember those headlines? Those were stupid.
Yeah, those were stupid though.
But regardless of boycotts, I don't. Yeah, that's not a thing. But negative attention, less when it comes to, again, the circumstances that lead to a game's release. They don't have nearly as much of an impact on sales as the actual product itself.
But sales would drive the product itself, though, right?
Well,
if they
sales drive the product.
Wait, what did you say? Say it again.
I said, aren't sales what drive the product, though? Sales is what drives the product. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know where that's coming from. That's not what I was talking about. I was talking about the circumstances that lead to a game's development. Like, for instance, all the bad stuff that's happening at Ubisoft. Okay? So, people who love Ubisoft games probably don't care that the people that make those Ubisoft games are a bunch of people that demean women, are perverts,
no, because people are
and
still,
they do the
like this guy on the left-hand side is still going to buy Assassin's Creed Valhalla regardless.
Right, yeah, and that's
eventually when it's discounted, and according to Giuseppe, that's okay.
Well, it's better than giving Ubisoft full price on day one or week one or anything like that.
All those employees that were harassed and demeaned, I'm not paying full price for their game, so their sacrifices were for nothing. So
well, you can paint
it.
They
lose twice.
You can paint it any way that you like, my friend.
So can you, Van Gogh. So can you.
And I have. But my thing is, when it comes to negative attention, the things that surround the game prior to launch, it doesn't, to this day, it just doesn't have as much of an impact. And that's the thing that's really troubling to me for it. But if there's one little thing that goes wrong with the actual product itself, case in point, Star Wars Battlefront 2. That game caught all kinds of hot mess fire because of the way that they did their microtransactions for the star cards, and how those things gave people competitive advantages online from day one. If you basically pumped in extra dollars after you buy the game full price, you bought a whole bunch of those star card packs, and you could boost your characters to have extra perks, to be more viable in basically like a strictly online, for the most part, competitive. Like it had a very small single player campaign, but Battlefront is primarily a series that is a Star Wars multiplayer gaming experience. So and then all the negative attention that just continued to spiral out of control. It snowballed.
Did that game not sell well though?
That game did not meet.
It
did not meet those sales goals, especially for the Star Wars exclusivity license that EA had for it. That did not, and soon enough, very soon, that game went on permanent price cut, and it never went back up. It kept going down, 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 down. So, yeah, that was a situation that, again, but that was because of the game. That was because of the game design choices, the way they chose to monetize it. Those things directly impact the product itself, and those things screwed up, and that negative attention spiraled out of control, and that tanked those sales. I wish that bad business practices prior to a game's launch, prior to the product itself, I wish that those things had a more of an impact on sales. But the consuming public isn't that thoughtful in general. We just don't think that way. We don't care that the sweatshops in Malaysia are producing awesome looking Nikes, for instance. Case in point, you
Yeah.
know, it's
That is true.
it's a shitty situation. I wish we did care more, but we don't. And I
There's no
wish
reason to.
well I okay, and I wish that they would there would be a way to impact those sales that way, but it doesn't. So
There's no reason to?
Hmm.
Why?
There's no reason to care because nothing can be done. It's just always going to be there. That's just not how the world works.
Oh. Gotcha.
it's a very ultra simplified way to look at it.
No, it is because CD Projekt Red was like, we won't crunch. Okay, cool, crunch. Like at this point, if you're going into making games, you know which studios crunch. You probably do your research and figure out which ones are gonna force you to work overtime. As someone who's had to do mandatory overtime for a job before, I hated it and I left. If you want to make a game, it's a sacrifice you have to make. It's something known to them. If you don't know, then you didn't do your research, and I'm sorry. And I don't think crunch should be a thing. In a perfect world, video games would be made like without any external factors that don't push the budgets and the due dates, or there's no bugs or anything like that. But unfortunately, that's just how it works.
I don't believe that the contracts that workers sign regarding the however long it takes for a game development cycle to be, I don't believe there's any verbiage in those contracts regarding crunch, because the crunch period comes whenever and can last for however long.
Well, you know which studios are crunching.
Well, but almost every studio crunches. That's every studio.
Do
Yeah?
they all do it?
So then, what's
it's almost
the issue? It
pra-
seems like it's a practice in the games industry.
yeah, that doesn't make it right.
Doesn't make it
Just
wrong.
because it makes it wrong.
If you go
Yeah,
to
it
a
makes it
job
wrong.
and you know everything that's going to happen to you at the job, and you take the job and something wrong happens to you, I do not feel sympathy for you. I'm sorry, because you knew what you were going into.
Well, you're
Two
not a very
different things.
sympathetic person
Same
when it
one.
comes to that thing. You're coming at
No,
it from the strict standpoint that there's just no way to impact that process. And I'm saying that there is a way if the actual workers that are directly impacted by bad crunch practices actually unionized. They got their acts together, they consolidated the talent pool and say, look, we're not going to stand for this nonsense anymore. Because quite frankly, it doesn't need to happen. It only happens because management and executives say it has to happen. I don't believe there's any extra value that game development enjoys as a result of crunch. If that time, like I said before, and I'll say it again, if the time, money, resources, and talent were better planned out over the years, again, years of development that certain games are afforded, crunch would not be necessary at all. You'd be developing things at the rate that you need to do. You'd give yourself extra time for polish and fine tuning after the fact, after you got the bulk of your level design, your animations, your mechanics all taken care of. There are better ways to do it. Crunch is an excuse to not improve the process. Crunch is a crutch that managers and executives continue to lean on for nonsensical reasons. Crunch adds no value to game development, and that's why
So
it's wrong.
let me add something here, because I can see from both sides, and I think both sides are valid. But so like you're saying, Lauren, Giuseppe, you're saying that like oh God, um, you know, just because they know it's going to happen doesn't make it right that it happens. But at the same time, the way you're saying that they solve this is they unionize.
They
How
have to
come
do
they
it.
haven't done that yet?
Well, part of the problem is that in any kind of labor situation where unions don't already exist as a result of history, management comes in and quashes that right away by just literally just firing people. You know, and that's again that's a risk that a lot of people, again, I talked about it earlier. Opportunities in game development are not exactly, growing on trees. And if you've put any kind of investment in yourself to train to be an animator, a coder, what have you, and you want to get one of those opportunities. That's why you got a degree, theoretically, computer science or whatever, and you spent the time to learn your craft. You want to be able to have an opportunity in that craft, making money off of your talent. But a lot of people,
Fear of losing their jobs.
well, it's just like anything else. It's just like for instance, if retail workers across this country alone, let's keep it limited to this country. If retail workers, regardless of who you worked for, whether it was a big box, small, local retailer, whatever, Amazon, if retailers in general, if you work a cash register, if you work in a warehouse, you sling product, you sell merch, if all of those retail workers belong to one union, that could be the most powerful political entity in this country, and it would never be allowed to occur because of that. That now you're giving labor too much power over the process, and that's one of the reasons why the games industries do not want their talent to unionize. They don't want to give them any kind of authority or any kind of say in the process. They just want to continue to look at them as another exploitable resource that they can, burn out, fire, promote, but mostly ignore at will. They're just another means to profit, and that's how leadership looks at their talent. Generally speaking, talent looks at the game development process as an ability to do something fun with their talents and education and ability, and make a little money off of it. They like to make more money off of it, as we all do. We all want to make a little bit more money out of whatever it is that we do. But people don't get into game development because, well, they're going to, become the next, multimillionaire, equivalent to like a hedge fund person. They do it because they're passionate about games creation, just like teachers. Teachers don't get into that profession for the money, but it's an awful lot of work, and the amount of effort it takes for teachers to do what they do on a year-to-year basis should not require them to have to, rely on food stamps in order to make ends meet. Now, I'm not saying that's the same expectations we should have for talent who create video games, but
I would agree with that.
It would be nice that they have a little bit more say in the process, other than just simply meeting deadlines and then obeying when it comes to crunch. Because again, like I believe deep down, that crunch is not a thing that needs to exist in any capacity. And I put the blame squarely at management and executives who misappropriate all the resources available to create games as the culprit for it.
I agree with the teachers
it's
thing,
just
though.
unnecessary.
I know teachers who work other jobs.
Yeah, it shouldn't. They shouldn't have to be.
And they crunch during exams too, like exam week and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So they crunch. If only they had a union.
Well, there are teachers. There are teachers.
No, there is a teachers union.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
so what would that change?
Crunch, yeah, that's
retail. They crunch during the busy time of the year, which is holiday. Video games, they crunch year-round sometimes. Sometimes they only crunch when it's close to the release date. Like I said, I agree with It shouldn't have to happen, but problems arise and you have to crunch. That's how it works.
Yeah, but I don't.
A union won't
I,
fix that.
I don't believe that
I can
it's
agree with the
crunch.
union not fixing it.
A union might help, but it won't
Union
fix
can
it,
help.
as we know with teachers, as we
Sometimes
know with literally
unions
every
make
other
it worse.
union. Yeah, sometimes union is just another management
Yeah.
that takes money and it sucks.
AT&T has a union, and their pay and everything that they do there suck really bad because of the union. They have to pay union fees. They got to pay to just make sure that they don't have their normal pay change. Meanwhile, you know, like where I work, they don't do that. We don't have a union, but we don't worry about things like that at all. And I don't have to pay union fees and union dues and worry about like there's another different management that's outside of the company that I work for
And
that
then if
is in charge of my pay.
and then if upper management higher than yours, higher than the district, higher than the group level, comes in and says, you know what, you're all taking salary cuts, and guess what? You just got to swallow it, and that's it. That's where a union would be valuable.
Yeah, but the
in saying,
union
wait,
can also come in and tell me that. That's the
Yeah.
difference. And
the
the
union
is not
doesn't dictate your salary. The union isn't paying you.
absolutely the union does.
Union is not paying your salary. The company pays your salary.
The union can change
unions
my salary. No. Union's not paying my salary, but the union has
What are you
like
talking
authority
about?
over my salary.
What are you talking about?
They have
That-
negotiating power, is I think the point he's trying to get to.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay,
that's more along the lines of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So cite an example, because I
So
still
a
don't.
company is doing real bad. Hey, we can go to the union and be like, hey, we need to either get rid of 1,000 people, we have to lower everybody's pay. All right, get rid of 1,000 people.
They're still
Or
gonna
they'll
get rid of 1,000
negotiate.
people.
Or they'll negotiate and get rid of 900 people and lower pay of these people. Like, there's still negotiating power. I
So
still
you're
think
talking
unions
about
are good.
You're talking about
Again,
collective bargaining, is what you're.
I still think unions are good. I want to get that clear. I just don't think unions are the one-all be-all answer for crunch, because I don't think crunch will ever go away.
Well, I'm not talking about finding a one-all be-all answer. It's a complex issue that requires lots of different ways to improve to solve that problem. And like I said before, none of this stuff that we're talking about addresses the real problem, and that is the bad management and the bad executives that are to blame for crunch culture.
So every
I believe that.
management
I believe that deep down. I believe that deep down because they
So for
don't.
you, every company that has crunch has bad management,
Absolutely,
no matter what.
absolutely. Unless those managers are former creators, unless they have experience on the other end of things and they've elevated themselves to management and executive status so that they know. But that's the thing. Those people are making those choices without knowing what's involved in the process. They don't have that experience, and yet they have the power to
So-
make those decisions for.
What
for
about
the
like an
company.
indie studio where they're like, we have to launch this game in December, and then the pandemic hit, and everyone's working a little bit slower because of the pandemic, and they're like, well, we have to crunch. And is management bad? Because if they don't release that game in Q4, then Q1 they're dead. Because
So
that's how the game industry works
So
for a lot of studios.
which indie studio suffers from that situation? I'm not familiar.
I'm giving
The
you
only-
an example.
Yeah, but which one?
You want a real life example?
I've never heard of an indie studio being pushed up in with crunch situations the same way that I hear about AAA development. I'm not saying that it doesn't occur. It's just that it's not familiar to me. I only hear about crunch coming from, the big boys, the ones that have immense budgets. That seems kind of like ridiculous. Why they do crunch in the first place? Like, where did all that time and money go prior to? I don't know. Did Hello Games run into that situation with No Man's Sky?
I do not know. I honestly don't know many companies that do crunch. I just know games industry is known for crunch.
Right. But all of the noteworthy stories, again, this is off the top of my head, they're all from major studios. Guys who have less reason to do crunch. If money were the true limiting factor, you know what I mean? Because money and time, because like you said, like the indie studios, they have far less resources, and therefore if they don't meet their time sensitive, well, their goals are probably more time sensitive than
Oh,
larger
look there!
companies.
Look at the chat there. No Man's Sky creators, the face of game development crunch, from Polygon, from 2016.
Okay, and
There's one.
well, what happened with that? Did they just do crunch, and like what were the circumstances? Were people screaming bloody murder about the crunch? Were they compensated for the crunch? Was it equitable? Like 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 there's different circumstances. Crunch doesn't equal crunch for, you know. Like for instance, you mentioned how CD Projekt Red, they would be paying their people the overtime rates.
I
There's
didn't
lots
mention
of
it. The article mentioned it.
so okay, and there are also mentions of companies not paying their mandatory crunch the overtime rates. Like that seems kind of illegal. But again, I mean, I don't know. Like, how bad was that crunch? Was it? Because again, I don't remember any stories coming out about Hello Games about people like, you know, like hitting up like games journalists after the fact saying, "Hey, let me tell you our story. They expected us to put in 80-hour weeks, and management was constantly demeaning us. They were constantly cracking the whip, and people were going down. People were calling in sick. People getting depressed. People started taking substances to try to keep up, and blah blah blah." Like, I don't know, but those kinds of stories have been reported from previous crunch situations. Doesn't seem to be as pervasive as it is for the big studios as it may be for indie. Just doesn't seem.
Seems like you're anti-corporation.
Yes.
I mean, I think that was basically established a while back.
Yes.
No, not established. You don't want established.
That wasn't established?
No, it was
You can, yeah, you
Oh.
can establish that. I am.
Let's say what?
I am.
which is crazy to me.
That he's
Yeah.
anti-corporate?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Hey, crazy is welcome to the world.
anyway,
Welcome to the world.
Oh, that was
Crazy is what
unnecessary.
defines our reality.
we're going up about 2 hours here now. 2 hours and 5 minutes.
Well, I don't really have much else to say.
We got to do the rumor of the week, Genesis.
Cool, fantastic. Rumor of the week. I have.
Well, I'm glad you had 2 hours and 5 minutes to prepare for this.
I'll do two. So the first one that I have is the. This is a. It's not really a rumor because there's pictures on here, but I don't know if anybody has confirmed these are actual pictures. The leaked DualShock, the DualSense pictures that have come out of people disassembling them, as well as Travis Scott having his DualSense as well. So a lot of people are looking into the disassembled ones and saying that the DualSense that Sony's claiming to have is not as sophisticated as what they originally said when they broke it all down and took it all apart. Obviously, these are just people looking at it and claiming that without knowing, exactly what makes this controller work and where all the adaptive triggers are and all that stuff. They're just looking at it from just the meats and like the meats on the inside to see what makes it work and what where the rumble is on the bottom of the controller. They're like, it seems a lot more simplistic than what Sony had originally promised of this higher end sort of pro control that we'd get, because a lot of people are asking for that from Sony because Xbox has their Elite controller, and the DualSense was that almost higher end controller.
No, it's not a pro controller. That has never been said.
No, meaning like they're just comparing it in terms of it's a lot less sophisticated than what they thought.
In what way?
The adaptive triggers not looking like they're really adaptive triggers. They look like they're just the same rumbles that are in the same rumble motors that are in the bottom of the controllers are in the top. So like the way that Sony says that it's supposed to work is that, for example, Deathloop, when you press it and let's say your gun stalls, you'd feel the specific vibration of a gun stalling or things like that. Like they're saying the motors that they see in there are not going to give you those specific type of vibrations. They'll just give you general vibrations, similar to how like a DualShock 4 runs. That's what I've been reading from that as far as the DualSense disassembly image that's been floating around the internet.
From this article I found, that all seems to be an incorrect rumor.
Oh, okay. Which one did you see?
It's just talking about how the adaptive triggers seem to be a whole mechanism on its own. The little device will apply pressure to the L2 and R2 triggers so players won't be able to press them as easily as they would in certain circumstances. There's also a look at the haptic feedback engine on the grips of the controller. Those vibration motors are responsible for delivering feedback to the player in certain games.
Oh, well, this is the whispered internet saying that.
So, yeah. All right, what's the other rumor?
The other one is Final Fantasy 16 is the first M-rated Final Fantasy game coming. This is the first one that they've had, and it's rumored to be rated M. I think they confirmed it by one of the trailers, although nobody's confirmed if that trailer is incorrectly showing that or just generically showing 18 because they don't know what to show for it. Usually they would just say not yet rated.
Yeah.
But it's a European version, so it says PEGI 18, and they've been doing some digging, and it shows that that one is confirmed according to Twitter, saying, yeah, it's showing the same PEGI 18. The M rating for Final Fantasy 16 coming.
That seems odd that Square Enix's quality control board would allow that to be a thing. Unless it's reflective of a paradigm shift within the company, and that everybody understands that this is what they specifically want to do. But it doesn't seem like something like the quality control board would sign off on, because that hasn't historically been a branded thing for that franchise. It's interesting.
No, yeah, it's the first time we've seen it for a Final Fantasy franchise.
No. Final Fantasy Type 0 HD in the US was M for mature.
The hell was that M for mature for? Was it?
I don't know, and it was only in the US, yeah.
I have that right here. Was that M for mature? Oh, it was. But it's not for the things that I would have thought.
Still seems odd,
reference,
though.
Suggestive themes,
but only in America.
Yeah,
that's
weird.
Again, I don't know. That's weird.
That's odd.
Also, Giuseppe, you watched that trailer yet for Final Fantasy 16?
No.
Oh, all right. Well.
This is more of a discussion thing, but this was also talked about 2 days ago. Before the Bethesda buyout happened, they were considering being sold to EA. And this was maybe 2 years ago. They were considering being sold to EA. Any thoughts on that?
If that were to be a thing, then they could easily be just another larger fish that gets guzzled down and eradicated. Oh god, what's that studio that did the Dead Space games? Well, it would probably be just another studio that just gets consumed.
Visceral?
Visceral, yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Visceral. Just be another game developer, publisher that gets put under by the EA machine. Just another one.
Let me bring up one of the rumors from last week because
I'm surprised BioWare hasn't already gone that route, but they're like on the verge.
Oh, EA with BioWare?
Oh yeah,
Oh. I thought they were dead already.
yeah. They still have Dragon Age in their
Oh.
pocket. That's the next project that they got. If they don't hit with that, yeah, I would totally suspect them to be BioWare just fold, just be
Gotcha.
yeah.
Um, Let me bring up the rumor from last week because I wanted your opinion from this one for last week.
Mm.
There is a rumor going around that the Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, 3, and 4 are currently being remade from the ground up, similar to how FF7 remake is, exclusively to the PlayStation 5 and PC.
That seems odd for a couple reasons. Number one,
Hmm.
Konami is not a company that demonstrates that level of ambition for its own IPs regarding software development. Doesn't
Hmm.
seem like that's a focus for them.
There's
That's
real quick. There's been an update to this rumor. It's now just Metal Gear Solid 1 is getting a remake. 2, 3, and 4 are getting HD remasters.
Thank you for the update.
that
Yep.
still seems even that a little too ambitious for even Konami. Because again, independent from the Kojima connection, I just don't understand why they'd want to do that when they've never really expressed interest in reasserting themselves in software development in that way.
I feel like it's more of a tactic from Sony at this point, especially because they're trying to gather as many console exclusives that they can get. That would be a huge selling point for PlayStation if they had the console exclusivity of a Metal Gear Solid 1 remake that made it look like, almost like the Phantom Pain did.
Yeah,
I don't
I
think that's
mean,
Konami saying that we want to do this. I think that's Sony going to them and saying, "We're going to give you a check. Give us a number. What you want to do? What you want us to pay you to do this because we want this remake on our system."
right. Yeah, I mean, that could be a tactic that pays off for them in some way. But this is the thing, they do need Konami on the other end to be interested in that kind of a project development at all, at whatever price. You know what I mean? Like Sony could give them like all the money in the world, and if Konami is just simply not interested in doing it, then they're just not going to do it. You
So
know?
this is not the first time they've been also mentioned. Obviously, Silent Hill is still on the table for them. Um, there's been a bunch of still talk even after all these shows that it was supposed to show up at this one and it'll show up in the next one and then doesn't show up then. That Sony is definitely in talks with Silent Hill being exclusive to PlayStation 5 as well. And then when Bethesda was being announced, that was that Monday? I think it was Monday.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
Monday
Okay.
last week.
that was that Monday. Konami went trending on Twitter, and a lot of people were like, "The next smart buyout would be Sony buying Konami," which I think Adam and I sat here the last show just crunching numbers and trying to figure out with some
We did some
stupid
very
math.
simplistic math that Genesis was determined Sony could afford them, and he wanted for them to afford them.
Well, the
And
numbers made sense, but I don't think those
the
were right numbers.
the
Well, what was
numbers
the
made
number?
sense. I mean, it's literally like Sony owns 320 million in assets, and Konami is or 3.5 billion. What are they like? It's something billion in assets, and then there's like some Konami is like less than half of what it is, like one
Yeah,
fourth.
they're very
But it's
small.
it's literally like a fan petition for Sony to buy Konami. Sony doesn't have to buy anybody. They probably can't
No,
afford to buy anybody huge. Their biggest acquisition, I'm pretty sure, was Gaikai still, and after that it's Insomniac, and those are still in under $500,000. So
yeah,
there's
yeah.
I would.
literally no, they're not buying nothing.
Well, there's another thing with Konami as well. The games division, as it pertains to software, is not the lion's share of the Konami operation.
It's the
If
hardware, the pachinko machines.
it's a pachinko, right? So if Sony were to restructure that deal in something that's similar to like the Fox
They just want to
acquisition,
buy their
yeah, the Fox
software.
by the software, I think that's a much more reasonable and realistic deal. If Sony
That could be
were
probably
interested,
under a couple $1 million.
it would be a much it would make all the fiscal sense in the world, and it would be a great counter punch to the Bethesda acquisition.
Yeah, because you're
Because we
acquiring. Like, I think we went over to brands that day. They would acquire Silent Hill, Metal Gear, Bomberman,
Castlevania.
Castlevania. Yeah, that's a big one if they get that.
Heck, they're not. It's not necessary.
Why was that not necessary?
Because Sony can build up their own things. They don't have to buy a studio like Microsoft has to do.
No, they don't have to, but
no,
I mean
but
that would
be a no-brainer for them. That would make them money regardless, because there's already established fan bases for that.
Not only that, but you also have the potential to create all in-house, and you already have Kojima. So,
I mean, yeah, Kojima's not in-house.
no, he's not. But I mean, he has the relationships
good
are
relations
there
with Sony. Yeah, very good relationships with Sony. I mean, I thought they're still, aren't they still paying him? Like he's not a first party. What do you call that? Like a second party developer?
I don't even think he's a second party developer. I don't know what he is, honestly. I think he has his own company.
Yeah, but he doesn't make anything except for PC and PlayStation at this point.
So far.
Yeah.
Till Xbox offers him $3 billion.
Yeah, which they did say we're not done. We're not done with acquisitions. They spent already $10 billion and they're not done. They want more.
Hey, we just bought Kojima the Man.
Oh God, please! I don't want to hear
that. None of his IPs are coming with him, but his brain's here.
Yeah, but his brain now versus 40 years ago?
He was a baby, wasn't he? How old is he?
He's like in his 50s.
I think he's older than that. I think he's older than that.
No way. Hold on, I'm looking this up. Hideo.
He's older than you think, I guarantee.
He looks young, though, that's all.
He's 57. So he's about the age I thought he was.
Yeah, 40 years ago.
17. Is he making games at 17?
Yeah, I bet.
I'll take his brain now. Death Stranding was fantastic. I had no problem with that game. I'll take his brain now. If he gives me a good Silent Hill remake or sequel or whatever he wants to do with it, and then he does something along the lines of Metal Gear Solid remake, I'll take all those.
Death Stranding was not the strongest.
Did you play it?
It was not the strongest evidence to give him carte blanche over any project, especially
when you invest 96 hours into it and you reach the end and you don't want to do the deed that it's asking you to do, then I'll see if your opinion changes on that. But that game for me was a fantastic game. It is definitely not just a walking simulator. It is a very fantastic game. What he was, all the stuff he did in that game, as far as the acting goes, and just the way he made the characters interact with one another, I enjoyed that very much. I'll take his brain now. I'm good with his brain now. I got no problem. Metal Gear Solid 4, though, was still a godforsaken masterpiece, and I will also take his brain.
A godforsaken masterpiece? Now that's an odd way to put it.
Meaning like a fantastic. A very good masterpiece is what I meant.
Right, yeah, I was gonna say godforsaken is not a positive.
Oh.
So Kojima joined Konami in 1986, and that's his first game role. And he was born in 1963, so he was 23 years old.
So his brain from 30 years ago is what Giuseppe means.
Oh, how are you still fucking that up?
I don't know. It's late. It's 12 o'clock. It's already my birthday. God damn it.
Is it your birthday?
Yep.
Don't acknowledge that.
Happy birthday.
I'm not acknowledging that. You kidding me?
You think I ask you to acknowledge anything?
I wasn't going to acknowledge it because you don't want people online knowing your birthday. That's how they figure out who you really are, and they track you. And they kill you.
Okay, listen.
That's why people have throwaway Reddit accounts, man.
If somebody wanted to do that already, they would have already done it.
Wait until we're at like episode 100. And somebody's like, I
Do you
want to
think
kill
we're
this
gonna make it that
Genesis
far to
guy.
episode 100?
Why would we not?
It's only
Okay,
I mean,
I'm just asking.
One of you asks every week, "Are we doing this tonight?" And I don't understand why. That confuses the shit
Well,
out of me every time.
I understood why Giuseppe asked because I didn't show up yet, maybe, or something like that. That's all.
well that
Usually
and
I'm on with you before.
and nobody had jumped into the group chat. I had posted a couple things. I was just I was like, oh, okay.
You posted a couple of things that didn't require a response.
Yeah, and I was also online actually I got on at like 9:01. So
Yeah, I know. I saw. I was watching the first 48.
okay.
So instead of, yeah, I mean, you could have created a party.
That's not my role.
I'm gonna just there you go.
Make a cake. There you go. See,
It's just one of you asks that every week. It's like this is going on forever till you die, unless you can't fit it into a time slot or something.
I just want to be
But,
sure. That's all. Because you never know. Things happen. Life happens.
Yeah, like last week. It's
Yeah.
still happening though. Stop murdering.
Listen, they all disturb me when I hear noises behind my head.
All right, Giuseppe, you know what to do.
Well, I think that just about wraps us up for another week of Crafting a Chat. And there's lots of fireworks going off now. Apparently it's a celebration. That wraps it up for Adam, Genesis, Giuseppe Jones. Hopefully you found this little discussion a little entertaining and perhaps a little insightful and distracting and annoying and absurd. So have a good week. We'll catch you next week, Tuesday at 10 p.m. Genesis,
Absolutely.
What's our Twitch? handle?
Twitch.tv/craftingachat. It is now fixed and correct.
Yeah.
It's amazing and awesome. Everyone be good to each other and try not to be a dick. Signing off from
See you guys
Crafting a
next
Chat.
week. Bye-bye.
Bye now.